Hello fellow people, I will keep this short. This is part 2 of the black and white arc because the original recording turned out way too long. That's also why the discussion refers to the whole thing as one episode. Originally it was so. Now let's get back to our storyline, picking up with and covering chapter 16 events. After the revelation and Blake fleeing, the team was left in mixed feelings. Vice obviously freaking out, Yang trying to shush her saying they don't know the full story, and Ruby just said that it came to this, that Blake didn't feel comfortable enough with them to trust them with her secret. Self-doubt coming in too, wondering if she should have tried to connect with Blake more, even if she's not really a talkative type. Making her feel more welcome and supported in the team. Isn't that what a proper leader should do? But she failed, and now Blake ran and she doesn't know she'll ever come back. She should have done more. For now, they decided it's best to let things cool off. Yang pointedly stared at Vice, still silently fuming. And who knows, maybe Blake will come back to them. If not, they can always look for her. And they will drag Vice to do it too if they have to. And with that, we come back to chapter 16, from which things play out as we're used to. Blake decides to let Sun in on her thoughts about the dots she's trying to connect. Starting, of course, with White Fang lore. White Fang aren't active in Vacchio, and he's only been in Mithril for about a year, so it's not surprising he's not as well versed on them as some other faunus would be. He only knows the basics, since, of course, every faunus on the planet has at least heard of them and what they're doing. And what he heard is far from good, making him shocked to hear that Blake used to be a part of it too. She doesn't blame him from that reaction, and explains the backstory that it wasn't always this way, though she does admit that the peaceful leader is actually her dad. She doesn't want to think about her parents right now, so she moves on onto the change that happened with the leader that came into power 5 years ago and the new approach she brought. If Sun noticed her speeding through the spots, he didn't show it. At least she got out of it eventually. So here I am, a criminal hiding in plain view, all with the help of a simple piece of cloth. She demonstratively pulls the bandana off and reties it right away. She just wanted to let her ears out a little bit, hidden with her hair so she can hear clearer. Sun raises an eyebrow.
So, have you told your friends any of this?
Meanwhile, noticing that days later Blake is still not coming back, girls go out to Vale to look for her. Or well, Yang and Ruby do, dragging Vice after them. She's gotten a lot more difficult since the revelation of Blake being part of White Fang. Understandable considering the history her family has with them, but still, it's not like Blake directly did anything to her, it's not her fault. Though Vice didn't want to hear it, saying that just being a part of those criminals is enough. Ruby decided to ignore her and focus on looking for Blake, while Yang tries to keep her burning anger under control to not lash out at Vice. Though if this goes on, she might as well do. Will help with the slight scene of betrayal she's feeling too. Not because of Blake secretly being a faunus or her being a White Fang member, she's sure there's a story there, but because of her running away like that without a word or a note. Way too familiar, and it just had to be her team partner. She briefly wonders what will Osmond do if Blake doesn't come back again. Will they assign her someone else or let the team run on just 3 members? Okay, let's not get ahead of things. They will find her, and then they'll be able to talk it out, whether Vice wants to or not. They don't even notice Penny come up behind them, now scaring the shit out of them, and then unsettling them just a bit by somehow knowing about Blake being a faunus down to her exact species, by just one brief interaction with her days ago. Maybe she's just very observant? Penny is all smiles, wanting to help however she can, and her enthusiasm is a bit too much. Yang doesn't really have the right mental attitude right now to deal with that, and she can tell Vice is getting annoyed. So she grabs her hand and pulls her down the street to continue looking for Blake. Ruby seems to get along well with Penny's, and now they can split up to cover more ground. Ruby herself, well, she's also a bit weirded out, but not enough to reject Penny's company. She, out of everyone, would know how difficult it is to make friends while not really picking up on social cues. While they walk, Penny is looking around in wonder, as if she hasn't seen a city before, asking questions about all she sees, truly fascinated by everything. Ruby explains as much as she can, now thinking Penny must not be getting out a lot, or at least not to a big city like Vale. It is endearing. She wonders if she looked like this too the first time Dad took her to Vale when she was little. But she doesn't have time to just chat, she needs to keep looking. Which prompts Penny to start asking more about Blake, and why she ran off in the first place, and why does it seem like Vice wants to do anything else but look for her teammate, and are they angry at her for running, and it's almost too many questions to keep up with. A part of Ruby starts to regret letting Penny tag along. This energy is a bit too much. Though look who's talking. What's important is that she doesn't know how to feel about this whole situation, since Blake didn't exactly give them a chance to figure this out before running off.
I don't have a lot of friends, but if I did, I would want them to talk to me about things.
Me too.
She sees a couple of people walking past and wants to ask them if they saw Blake, but a cold tingle spread through her chest, reading her in place, voice not working. Damn social anxiety, now is not the time. Penny must have noticed her struggling, now asking if she wanted to talk to those people. She really is observant. And actually helpful, she's really saying that she can ask for her. Ruby prepares for the worst just in case, but Penny just asks if they saw her friends and describes Blake in simple terms, without too many details or saying that she's a faunus. That went a lot better than she thought. No luck though. But Penny smiles and reassures her that they'll find Blake eventually. Meanwhile, Weiss and Yenny are also asking around, going into shops and cafes, thinking she must have went somewhere to eat at least. But no dice so far. Yenny's getting more and more frustrated, and Weiss not trying to help, just walking after her is contributing to those frustrations. After another failed lead and an icy eye roll, Yen can't hold it in anymore. She needs to at least let out a bit of emotion or she'll blow up. You really don't care if we find her, do you? Don't be stupid, of course I do. I'm just afraid of what she'll say when we find her. Like what? That she didn't feel comfortable telling us she's a faunus considering who you are? What's that supposed to mean? I'm just saying. Even putting aside the white Fang stuff that we don't have any say on before she explains it herself, you aren't exactly a face that says I support faunus rights. Excuse me? You think we didn't notice how you roll your eyes every time the topic is brought up? Literally this Friday you didn't even attempt to engage in class because it just so happened to cover faunus origin fairy tales. Is not finding something interesting a crime? No, but being willfully ignorant is. Especially with your family being so directly involved. I don't understand why we're having this conversation right now. Because, and I'm not gonna mince words, you are a two-faced bitch. If that's how you treat your teammate, not even letting her explain herself before making judgments, what will you do if any other faunus was in her place? Like this shit you said about that guy from the boat. Would you say the same things about Velvet? What? Of course not! Why? She's also a faunus like him, and you spent with her less time than you did with Blake. So why is she different? Because she's not a criminal! And we don't know who Blake is either. And it's not our place to judge before we know all the facts. Of course you would say that she's your teammate. Then I guess you're only tolerating Ruby because she's your teammate too? Making up that shit about wanting bunk beds to play nice, huh? I wonder what you actually think about her in that case. These two arguments don't even compare. And before you continue to berate me, I think the way Blake reacted is evidence enough. The innocent never run, Yane. Yane doesn't have the energy to tell her just how wrong she is. And a while later, Blake and Sun are going through a whole different part of Vale. Sun snacking on a tomato he got from somewhere. Did you steal it? I am not obligated to answer that. More importantly, what's the plan now? Blake still doesn't think connecting White Fang to the robberies is the correct answer. All of this dust is too much for their needs. Sun suggests keeping a watch on a big shipment of dust from Atlas to see who's going to buy it if someone this desperate to steal every bit of it. Which leads to a few boring hours of keeping watch waiting for their baddies, who turn out to be White Fang after all, but suspiciously led by Torchwick, which then leads to the fight that we all know well. Continue with Penny and Ruby arriving, and Penny destroying 2 whole ships. Let's hope they were on autopilot, because if not... And Torchwick gets away again. The dust is safe, for now. Ruby and Penny go down to the docking area to check the damage. Oh, Ruby, I found your friend! Blake is immediately tackled to the ground in a rose-petaled hug, partially out of need to hug her, partially to keep her in place. Ruby squeezes her tight and asks her not to run away again. She doesn't care about any of that secret stuff, she just wants her friend and teammate back, and she'll buy her all of the tuna if that's what it takes to make her stay. Blake sighs and pets Ruby's hair, saying she won't run. Ruby looks up at her pouting, and then gasps. Oh, those are kitty ears! Sorry, was that weird? What, my ears existing? No, I think it would be weirder if I had both those and human ones. And she has jokes? Ruby turns to Sun, clinging to Blake harder despite her trying to stand up. Did you do something to her? She wasn't like this. Hey, I'm just as surprised as you are. All she did was glare at me for doing it straight. Not entirely true. And eat through my wallet. What? Blake, that's not nice. I'm so sorry, we'll pay you back. Sun. Penny carefully approaches, curious. Ruby, is tackling your friend to the ground in a hug some kind of friendship milestone? It is now! Not long after, police arrives, drawn to the commotion, taking statements from everyone on what happened. And not long after that, Ospen arrives to the scene, alerted by police about Beacon students being involved in stopping a robbery. He says that he would like to ask Blake a few questions, as the most involved in the situation. Which, for now, a hypothetical viewer won't see, leaving them hanging until Volume 2 to find out what that was about. Weiss and Yen arrive in the morning, after Ruby suddenly remembers to send them a message that she found Blake and where they are. Yen shoots back, why are you at the police station again? Do I need to call Dad to bail you out? And Ruby suspects she's only half joking about doing that. When they come up to the girls waiting for them, the tension grows. Blake did tell Ruby she'll explain what happened with her and White Fang to Weiss, and Yen did notice Weiss being lost in thought for the last several hours after their conversation. But they're both still worried about how this will go.
Weiss, I want you to know that I'm no longer associated with the White Fang. Back when I was with...
Stop.
Do you have any idea of how long we've been searching for you? 12 hours. That means I've had 12 hours to think about this. And in that 12 hours, I've decided I don't care.
You don't care?
You said you're not one of them anymore, right?
No, I haven't been since I was younger.
I don't want to hear it. All I want to know is that the next time something this big comes up, you'll come to your teammates and not someone else.
Of course.
The team is finally together, even if Y still has some things to work on. Ruby notices that Penny is gone, now being driven away by one of her guards. And Ospen gets the cryptic "The Queen has pawns" message from Crow. Speaking of pawns, I'm not sure if we'll be leaving after credits as such or making them a part of the hypothetical episode proper, but either way, Roman managed to yank a whole one suitcase of dust, and now is being bullied for it by Cinder, who casually shows off her cool fire tricks, which melts the snow on the ground around her. Time for the discussion portion, which is getting longer and longer. If you're confused on why this series of events takes place in late December, before New Year's holidays, I would recommend watching or re-watching their HRR timeline video. That's episode 9. And more weird Wes's shenanigans. Wonder what that could be about. It is also finally time for us to start utilizing beacon lessons as a way to put information from World of Remnant into the episodes proper. In this case, a geography class for the Kingdoms episode that released before Volume 4, which also gives us a free opportunity to give our, for now, non-focused characters their own moments too. On to next class, Ospen teaching literature. I foreshadowed this visually in episode 12, so it's nice to give him a proper classroom scene. Because it would be boring if he just sat in his tower all day doing fuck all. Thematically relevant? Yeah, but very boring for his character. Also, I feel like he'd actually jump at the opportunity to take this class in particular. We know why. Who else, who other than him would be perfect for the role? Also, I feel like it would be him re-traumatizing himself every time, to remind himself of his past mistakes and failures. No, I won't say the line. With all these stories being reminders that he can use to teach the new generations to make sure they don't repeat his mistakes. Oh, and the fairytales also serve as a way to explore more lore and culture of the world, without making it into an info dump. Stories and fairytales are always more engaging for this stuff. Them exploring the origin myths of Faunus in this lesson was chosen specifically because of the reveal and the conflict tied into it. Call it a form of narrative foreshadowing. Speaking of foreshadowing, or should I say early establishment, Sienna. I'm specifically mentioning Sienna Khan early, both as a whole and specifically in this episode, so the viewer would have the name in their head. Mostly I did it because very often in their reactions, people hear Blake say that a new leader came to power and immediately think Adam. Not yet, not yet. That's also why, if this hypothetical scene was real, I would slightly adjust the line so the new leader would be referred to as she, to definitely clean up that moment of confusion. Oh, and also, Sienna is given early mention so she wouldn't just spawn in, have that one scene, die immediately and despawn, though I'm pretty sure you already figured that out. And back to team bonding. They're friends! I used a little bit to give the characterization to Ren and Pyrrha. I feel like Ren would be the type to appreciate the nature and specific ecosystems of his homeland, especially with War mentioning that Mistrali people are very connected to the scenic nature of the kingdom. Here we have a living example of that. And then the tiny detail of Ren being clueless when it comes to clothing, a little something to make him more endearing, just like with Pyrrha's abysmal homekeeping skills. And also with Pyrrha, we're showing her interest in fairytales early. And by interest, I mean her mentioning 4 and recounting one of them, and that's it. Listen, I'm taking anything I can get to make these characters not just background decorations, okay? Pyrrha did mention Shallow Sea as one of her favorites when prompted by Ospen, so it made sense that she'll be discussing it in his class. And we are again reminding the viewer that she's a celebrity put on a pedestal, with some of her fans seeing her in person and hesitating to approach, making her annoyed. She doesn't like her fame, but there's nothing to do about it, so she'll have to tough it out. Unless a wild Nora appears to save the day. Nora goodies time. This one goes out to the people who think I didn't give Nora enough of her own thing in my reboot and that she still feels like just an accessory to Ren's story. It's me, I'm the people. So now I'm using every moment I can find to give Nora little things to do with other people, since her story of self-discovery will only start all the way in Atlas. And that's a while to just do fuck all and wait for her personal arc to come to us. So while she's still feeling great about herself, she can be a good help for other people's journeys. And if she's forced to play support, I'll make sure to make her a fucking good support, which then will tie into her personal arc. She's so focused on helping others, the goal she had ever since they were just a couple of orphan boys in the orphanage, that she started to lose her own sense of self while helping others find theirs. Moving further, the Vital Festival preparations. As you noticed, I changed things quite a bit while keeping the vague structure of Chapter 15 opening scenes. Vi still has a hard-on for preparation and organizations, but now she didn't know that Vale is setting up so early. She's a sheltered princess, how would she know what common people do to prepare for a festival? Which leads to my favorite thing. Timelines. Because I was very curious, when would our characters be able to see those in action before the one they took part in? So allow me to nerd out for a couple minutes of runtime. So, Vital is biannual, and the one we got was the 40th. It moves from kingdom to kingdom one by one. Now, correct me if the info I heard was wrong, but I'm pretty sure the 39th was in Mistral, and by Robin's comment in Volume 7, the 41st was supposed to be in Atlas, which makes the rotation Vale, Atlas, Vacuum, Mistral. Now, with us knowing that, and the festival being biannual, we can find out how old everyone was to see the last one come into their kingdom. As mentioned in the episode, Yen and Ruby would have been 10 and 8 last time it was in Vale. Vice would have been 12, and we know her life wasn't really focused on festivals, especially back then. Though we can also argue that SDC was a sponsor, and she used the festival as a way to distract herself from the family drama, which is why she's so interested in the organization for it now. Anyway, Juniper would have been 16 when it was in Mistral. And we can make cases for why they could or could not attend in person, depending on what approach we want to take. You choose if they went to see it live or not. Thank you for the detour, now we get back to discussion. Now moving into Blake running and Sand following. Some of you might have been surprised that I pulled in Tucson of all people to explain where the fuck they have been for a whole weekend. There's not much to it, just a connection to make his death more personal. If you want me to cook up a little backstory to make this make more sense, I'll leave it in the pinned comment. Next, Sun is following Blake just because he's curious about her. He wonders why she's hiding her traits to this extent, and what happened to make her suddenly take off like this at nightfall. And, you know, making sure she's not going to get herself into danger serving as backup. This will become an ongoing thing for them. Speaking of things, no romantic things here anymore. I'll explain why next time. More Ruby and Penny interactions. Those are to make it more believable that in those two brief meetings they became such great friends that the emotional impact of Penny's death would hold as much weight as Pyrrha's for Ruby. Also, a thing I noticed, in all 3 volumes Penny speaks with contractions, but in 7 and 8 it's made a thing that she doesn't. It's even a clue when Emerald is pretending to be her. Oversight? Or perhaps it's a quirk of her rebuilt model. Or, since the secret is out, she doesn't have to talk like a proper human anymore, so she can speak however she wants. And how she wants is without contractions. Vice and Yang now have a little bit of a fight, because of course Yang won't just let Vice say that shit without calling her out on it, especially not with the bond I've made for them in episode 12. Which is also brought up by using Velvet to showcase the hypocrisy of Vice's outlook on Faunus, making this more nuanced. It's all connected. This was my plan all along. This is why I pulled Velvet in so early. And you have no idea how much shit I've seeded out throughout the story already that will only come up in full volumes later. Ruby and Blake interacting? Oh my god, in my story Tweakage? More likely than you think. And there's more where that came from, so you'll have to wait and see. I've got you covered, Ladybug fans. Come get your snacks, gods know you rarely get those. And of course, I had to finish the reunion off with a little animatic, just like in Blake's episode. It's so nice I used it twice. Might as well since they're not going anywhere. Maybe one day I'll get them together and post as a compilation. So we finished adjusting the storyline for Volume 1. Let's now summarize what we have achieved and how it would look like as a hypothetical Season 1. I'm using seasons and episodes to distinguish it from the original show, since, again, I am not rewriting it, I'm making it a separate thing. We start, of course, with Initiation Arc, which would take roughly 2 episodes, which includes all the new extra scenes and events from HRR episode 10, more character bonding moments being the most important part of those. Next, it's followed by the Badge and the Burden arc, Vice being angry at being stuck with what she deemed to be a bad leader, Ruby getting insecure about her position as one, and both getting a pep talk from professors, which then leads to the teams trying to find a balance during Anne's lesson. That's 2 episodes. Now we start doing something funky. Burn arc takes place over multiple episodes, so we're gonna do something with it. So episode 5 starts with Yang in Vice's bed, Yang's wish and girls starting to bond over running together in the mornings, ending this part with Yang inviting Velvet to join them, planting the seeds of Vice's growth. Second half of the same episode would be taken from Jean's arc, from him being a failure that becomes a target for bullies, to trying and failing to study harder, to him lashing out at Pyrrha and ending the episode with Carden getting blackmail on him. Episode 6 covers the Birthday Win special, everything shown in HRR episode 13. Ruby and Yang's family drama and resolution. Next, we return to Jaundice and Burn, utilizing the rest of the scenes from those arcs, going back and forth to show the progression of time. Weiss and Yin trading, and Weiss warming up to Velvet, them trying to do more productive things together, meanwhile Jean is getting tossed around by Cardinal, until the events of Forever Fall and resolution after it with our new scenes. Again, all in one episode. And closing the season we get Black and White arc, which we cover today. And it's all in one episode. Total count, 8 episodes. And that's with all the new original content. As for the character-based HRR episodes, excluding Ren and Nora's backstory that I already said to take place in place of Kurayuri chapter in volume 4, and Osmond and Glinda's backstory for spoiler reasons, moments from all the others can go wherever they want. I don't really care. It's not my fucking job, I'm just a cosmic magpie coming up with POV stories, I'm not a show writer. Well, that was fun. Next time I will be publicly executed. Because with Sun now properly introduced, it's time for that B-rant video I promised all the way back in Fang's episode, which I'm sure people will be completely normal about. So yeah, I'll see you on the other side.